Hey everyone, Clay Orr from Clay Orr Not Customs here again with another part of the chronicles of my Crossfire custom action figure. As you can see in the last couple of videos, I've been prepping him, dremeling him out, doing everything, preparing the figure to put him back together. This is the assembly video, so if you're just catching this one, make sure to go back and see the first couple, the tools that you need to put it together, the actual disassembling, the prepping, and now the assembly. So the tools I'm going to go through that you need to actually put a figure back together, the ones that I use: pair of needle nose pliers. You can actually get your Leatherman, some bigger pliers. Those work too in case you have something larger than your needle nose. Sometimes those the grasp that those have isn't wide enough for the actual figure. I have two different types of super glue. My quick fix brushable super glue. Then I've got some Loctite Ultra Gel Control. It's basically just gel super glue. It's not anything really special, but it's not liquidy. It's jelly, so it can actually go somewhere and it'll stay where you put it. So I'm going to be using that to actually put the body back together with the brushable super glue. Not too much, but in some spots. And your heat gun. Got a heat gun over here. Same one I've been using the whole time. There it is. Basically I'm going to go through, I'm going to put together, you can do it in any order you want to. This is just how I do it. It's the things that I see that I want to do first. So basically the first things I grab are the feet. I've got mine kind of left and right here. This is actually my right and my left, so it'll be opposite on your screen, but just remember to, if you dremel out your biceps, your right and left will be probably dremeled out inside, so you won't be able to see it, but follow the forearms and the hands and you can match up which way the pegs go up on the body. So I get my feet. First thing you want to do, go with either leg you want to. Get your leg, get your foot, make sure you have the right one, or the correct one rather. Get your heat gun, grab your foot. I use needle nose pliers for this because I don't want to burn the shit out of my fingers. Grab your foot with needle nose pliers right here. Heat it up, get it nice and malleable, and then you're going to squeeze it right onto the leg. Once you get it on there, kind of set the foot up straight, let it cool off before you mess with it a lot. You don't want it to warp a little bit. Here you go. A couple of seconds usually works. So you just get it in there. Squeeze it in there, it should pop in there. And if you've treated your joints appropriately, there should be no paint rub. There's a little bit of yellow gold right there because you can always go back and paint it because you dremeled it down. So there's that foot. Gonna go do and jump through the other foot. And there you go, there's your feet. You get your feet on your leg joints right there. The next thing I do that's easiest, I pop the things in and I can just heat up and put together before I completely assemble the thing. So I put my hands on my forearms and then I put my biceps on my shoulder pegs, shoulder balls. So here's the hands going in. You do this the forearms the same way as you did the feet. I'm trying to do a quicker video here so you won't have to watch a 45-minute video of me putting a figure back together, because basically it's a disassembly video backwards. You just have to heat it up and all your joints are treated. So if you want to do that, I'm going to do both arms just at the same time. Heat the forearms up just a little bit, hold them with your needle nose pliers, pop the hands in there, and then you'll have your forearms and hands done. So here we go. Alright, so you got your hands and your forearms right there. Those work perfectly. If you get them, like I said, if you got them paint rub treated, you can move them around. You'll see that you might have missed a spot if you didn't paint exactly all the way in the joint right there. That's fine. You got paint rub treated, so you can go back and paint it. I didn't paint the rest of the body because we're going to do a full paint once we get it back together. So the same thing goes with your shoulder balls and your biceps. You're just going to pop them on there. I normally like to heat from the side, not directly onto the hole, in case that you know, it's like preparation H. You don't want to put it directly on the hole. You want to put it around the hole to treat the whatever. It has nothing to do with the bicep, but regardless, good tip for preparation H. See, now you learned something that you didn't think you were going to learn today. Where was I? Hold it with your pliers, kind of get it on the side heat it from the side, because if you get that, it might warp it a little bit and it might rub the paint. So it would defeat all the stuff you've done dremeling it out. So I'm gonna do both biceps just like I did now. Kind of speed this up. Heat it up from the side. Put your shoulder ball in there, and we'll move on from there. I always twist it when I get it on there. Twist it as you're putting it on there, and then it goes perfectly on there. And as you can see, no paint rub because you got it super glue treated. So there's that one. I'm gonna do the other one really quick. Here we go. Perfect. That was a little hot, and I kind of scorched my fingers a little bit. So be careful if you're using a heat gun. Sometimes it can burn you a little bit. So be careful with that. You don't want you to get these scarred fingertips where you can't make any more figures anymore. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the biceps onto the forearms exactly the way that we did it before. You're just going to heat up your forearm or bicep, whichever one you want to do first. Make sure you can kind of tell that there's more area right here where the front of the arm goes as opposed to the back. So you want to make sure that the elbow on that part, also on the elbow joints, they will say L or right, L or R, and then an arrow. So always point the arrow up, fit it in there. If you want to do both at once, you know, that's great. You don't have to. Just make sure that you get the holes perfectly lined up. There's not, see if you can kind of see. You can't see that first through that hole right there, but you can the other one. So make sure it gets perfectly in there where you can see completely through the hole. Heat both sides up, just a little bit on one side, just a little bit on the other. Make sure you put your fat side of your peg through the right side of the hole, the bigger hole that goes through first. Heat it up, and then you'll have your arm. Don't mess with it once you got your pegs in there because it might bend. Let it cool down a little bit. So put your arm together. I'm gonna do both arms. Go ahead and set up this next arm for that. Remember, make sure the arrow's right up. Make sure the shorter side of the back matches up with that perfectly. So I got both my arms ready. Got both my pins because I had a part bin. All my little pins in it so I didn't lose them. My cat didn't steal them. So got them both ready. Got to heat them up at the same time. Here we go. Alright, got both your arms done. Next thing I'm going to do, grab my legs right here. Always remember which side goes where. I've got my stuff already lined up left and right here, so put the pegs in there, put the legs in the pegs, put the legs in the holes, put the things in the holes right there. Those don't match up right there because they're not the same hole, so what you want to do is make sure that you get the right pegs. See, I messed up already. Had them on opposite sides, but I started looking for left and right because I moved the feet around. So make sure your knee joints are actually facing up. Get the correct foot fitted in there, and you should see that both holes are the same size, both fat side. Pop them in there. Grab your leg pegs that I have blown away with my heat gun. Grab those little fuckers. And once you get those, put your pins in, just like you did with your arms. I'm going to do it all in one lick, just so you can see. Here we go. Okay, much. Alright, you got your legs now. Ta-da! That was pretty simple. That's not too complicated. Make sure your legs actually match up. The feet are on the right legs, and the legs don't look wonky. The knees don't look wonky. Let it dry a little bit. Let it kind of, not dry at all. Fuck. Let it cool down a little bit. The arms are probably malleable still right now. I'm going to give it a second. Let my stuff cool down, and then I will show you how to put the legs into the crotch piece, and we'll do that. So give me just a second. Alright, so it's been about 5 minutes. My stuff's kind of warm still. I'm going to show you another tip. Either you invent a freeze gun like Captain Cold, or you go put it in the freezer. Go put it in the freezer for about 10 minutes, let it get cool. Let it get like, it'll start to get some condensation on it. Just the parts that you heated up. So just get your arms and your complete legs right here. Go put them in the freezer for 10 minutes and that'll actually work a lot better than just waiting here for in room temperature for them to get cold again. So give me just a minute. Alright, so I got my stuff out of the freezer. You don't leave it in there too long, otherwise when you try and move it, all the paint comes off. It'll freeze the paint off, freeze the super glue off, so be careful about that. Just a couple of minutes, five minutes maybe. But next step we're going to be doing, put your arms to the side, get your crotch piece, the back, the ass piece, and you'll see a little hole right there. And I mentioned earlier in an earlier video, there's a peg that goes, if you can see the little ding-a-ling peg right there that goes in the thing. So you want to make sure that's faced backwards. It's going to go right in the hole. You're going to squeeze it and make sure it stays like that. And this is actually one of those ways you can fix that. If you have a figure that the leg's wobbly or something like that, that's what's wrong with that. That hole isn't, the peg isn't in the hole all the way. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab our gel control super glue, open it up, make sure you've used it recently if you haven't. Take all the dried up glue off of it. Squeeze some glue into your hole right there. Kind of get it right in there. And you got, you know, pretty much one shot at this, so if not, you peel it off, you might have to paint or Dremel or shit again. Make sure it gets all the way in there. Spread the legs a little bit so you can push it. Make sure it gets exactly all the way in there. Not too far in on one side. You can hold it at the butt cheeks and touch at the top of the legs and push in alternate points and let it dry a little bit. You can also, once you kind of get it where it's not going to like fall off because it's so loose, put some more super glue just in the hole that we drilled in there. You're going to fill that back in with epoxy, but put it in there, it'll get some stability. Kind of brush it down where it just kind of glues around the peg, because when you put it back together you don't want it to touch anything flat going against that, otherwise the thing won't sit flat in the crotch when you put it all back together. So let that dry a little bit, let your super glue dry, give it a couple of minutes. Okay, so your next step, once your lower crotch piece is dried, you want to take your lower torso piece. You want to make sure that your bottom right there was super glued in red. Otherwise, when you turn it, his torso will be painted. Won't be painted. Same thing with the upper crotch. I don't care, so I'm not going to do it. I don't ever use that articulation anyway. I just forgot, and I'm happy to have it like that. It's not going to rub anything off. You can always touch it up around the corner. So next thing you're going to do, once your crap is dried down here, just want to make sure not to really mess with it, because it is super glue. It's not going to be completely set until you have this on top of it. So what you want to do is get your lower torso. It's still got that peg in it because you didn't take that part apart. Pop it into the ass, the back of the thing there. You're not going to glue anything. You're just going to put it in its place right there with a peg. And then you should see two little nipples that were still left on there from when you popped it open. The reverse of the crotch piece, which has the holes. You can either put glue on in your holes, or you can put them on your pegs. It doesn't matter. I'm probably just going to put some in the hole, and then the points where it has the thickest plastic, kind of the points that you drilled through, you get some brush-on glue, brush it on there, squeeze it together, hold it on there together, and make sure that it gets completely set in all the places so the lines are completely even. You want to make sure that there's not like a big gap or anything in the leg. You want to make sure it's completely flush so you don't have to put much epoxy on it. So here we go. If you're having a problem with the crotch piece kind of staying together right there, a trick that I have kind of learned to kind of make a quick super glue, sometimes you can use it for body filler. Get a paper towel, just the tiniest little bit off, roll it up into a little ball like you would get when you got a booger on your finger. Kind of maybe get it cylindrical so you can shove it in that hole. Really, it's just you're making a tampon. Let's just call it what it is. You're going to shove that thing into that hole as far as you can. Get something, kind of pack it down like it's a musket. Remember, squeeze it together, squeeze that spot together, and dip your super glue down in there. The paper towel will suck up all the super glue. Kind of brush it on the edges, maybe add some extra support. It'll add some added support back there before you put your sculpt on top of the hole. So just a little secret, little tip. Works great for me until you get it dry to the touch. I'd hold on to it or get that clamp that I have lost because I've cleaned my desk since then. Get the clamp, hold on to it, and there you go. Alright, now that you've got your legs put together, you can admire your beautiful work. You can see why it mattered so much to Dremel that out and put it all back together. You'll feel really accomplished doing it. I know I have. I just feel just tickled to shit just to know you guys have done something because of me. I hope this is helping somebody out there, even in the slightest. I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. So, enough of that kissy talk. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your back piece right here. Should be all prepped. You got your super glue on the bottoms there, super glue on the neck and the shoulder pits. There's a little area you can see right here. You can see maybe the shadow of it better. Little square right there in the middle of that square. You're going to line up with this peg. So you want to make sure that these pegs, the little peg that comes out of the inner torso, the lower torso, whatever, is lined up. Get your needle nose pliers and line it up where it's straight, where it's flat and straight like that. You don't want to, you don't want to have it where it's tilted to where the torso is going to be tilted. You want it to be completely straight up. So you want to grab it. You can test this a minute. You can see how the torso fits in there and see if you didn't sand enough away in the lower part of the torso right there. You can grind that out a little bit. You can grind the part of the lower torso, or you can grind the actual abdomen, the thorax, whatever the fuck you call it. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue this one in right here. So easiest thing I've done, it doesn't take much super glue. Just want to make sure it gets in there exactly where you want it. Make sure it fits. Get your brushable super glue, just kind of make a bond. Glue it into place. A lot of times I will take the paper towel method that I just showed you and kind of use it as like a fiberglass cloth. If you've never used fiberglass cloth, fiberglass resin hardens really hard, and if you put a fiberglass cloth in the middle of it, it hardens the fibers of the thread, the threads of the cloth, and it makes it fiberglass. So now you know something else. So let that brush stuff dry, then you can put I'm gonna put some paper towel on it, but I'm gonna let that dry first, let that dry to the touch, and I'm gonna put my paper towels on it. Alright, so I got my glue. It's not exactly as good as I would want it to be. It's still kind of clicking. So, and a couple of little squares of paper towel, like I said, works great in a pinch. If you don't have, really, if you just want to make it more supportive. So, get a toothpick or something you can use to kind of poke it in there. Kind of get it sticky. Maybe rub a coat of the brush stuff on first so it has something to stick to. Then you want to get your brush nice and moist with the glue. It'll set up pretty quickly. So make sure you get some in there and push it down on the area you're trying to reinforce. I don't know if you can see that. at all. Alright, so you're going to do that, let that dry. Super glue doesn't really take that long to dry, but let it dry. Do the same thing on the other side. Alright, so once you've got your fiberglass cloth, your semi-fiberglass cloth, whatever the hell you want to call it, put back in there. Make sure it's dry to the touch, not going to get gooey, sticky, whatever. You're going to put your neck peg back in there. Just kind of lay them on his back. You're going to put your shims back onto your, doesn't matter which one, they're both exactly the same, but you're going to put the shims back onto the shoulder ball. They should just fit right on there. The way I do it, if you can see the shim, the way the, I don't know why it's called a shim, but that's what I call it. Little gears that hold it in there. I always put the gears facing up, so facing out. So if you put the shoulder ball, if you put the shoulder ball back in there, you can't just lift it directly out. So you'll see the little gears. I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not. The gears will be facing you. The gears will be right here. They won't be on the top and bottom. They'll be on the front and back of the figure. So put those in there. Make sure they're pushed firmly down into there. If it behooves you, you could even take them out, and I might actually do that. Just put just a hair of super glue down on the inside down there, just exactly where the bottom of the shim is going to touch. Just it holds it in place. Make sure it wedges down in there, and you only got a couple seconds to get this right. So push it down in there, push the shoulder in as you're doing it, and kind of hold it there for a second. Make sure it gets all the way in there. Do the same thing with the other side. Sometimes I do this, sometimes I don't. I'm just showing you because this is something you may want to consider. Might help you a little bit. So, plus it will kind of keep the arms in place longer when you're trying to put the top part of the torso back together. It'll keep it in there. If you don't, they'll just fall right out. So you get those kind of put in there. Don't rotate the arms, otherwise it might pop out the shims just right now until there's something else pushing on it. If you try and get this glued up in one round, you're retarded. It's not going to go in one glue without the glue actually drying somehow. So what you want to do, what I do first, is kind of put it in, do it sideways like this. You're going to put it in down, like the lower part of the torso in first, because that's the part that might scratch the most. So you want to just kind of, it just pops over on it. Make sure it's all the way on there. You can actually get your toothpick and kind of pry it open just a little bit so you can get the glue in there. But the glue I'm going to be using, I'm going to put it right here, put some squeeze glue around that hole, the top part of the shoulder, almost next to where the hole you drilled, right there. On both sides of that, I'm going to put some brush glue around the neck right there. So just make sure you do that. Once the top part is glued, you're going to kind of like hold the top part and then pry open the bottom part, put the glue down there, then hold it together, and then pressure it, put it all together under pressure, the whole thing, so it seals all the way and not just before your glue dries on one side. So make sure you get enough space right there to put your glue in. And here we go. I'll try to do this on camera. Get your brush glue real quick. Get some glue, rub it over the top of it, just couldn't hurt it. But make sure your seal is good all the way up around it. Alright, so everything is dried on that. Last part you're going to do, really before being done, is just glue the bottom part of your upper torso. So what What you want to do is put some of the gel glue down to the side of it. Make sure it gets in the crease, the crevice. Once it's in there, just squeeze the fucking piss out of it. Blow on it a little bit, and once you get it done, just hang on to it. You'll be done soon enough. Alright, so finally got him put back together. Everything's glued. You can see he's got some of those little paper towel plugs and some of the holes because he was kind of rough to put together in some spots. You will you know, come upon that. Even if you take them fully apart, sometimes it won't go back together. You gotta mod it a little bit. That's just creativity. It gives you a chance to work on something, be a little creative with how you get it fixed. I figured the paper towel thing out kind of on my own, just in using fiberglass cloth, so that always worked for me. So I use that a lot before, so it worked for me. The last thing I'm gonna do real quick is grab my 2-part epoxy here, just a hair of it, not even really that much. Maybe part A, probably as big as, about as big as maybe the ball on top of the neck joint. And part B, same thing, it's a 50-50 ratio. So, always, just like my grandpappy said, make sure your balls are even. Look pretty good to me. So, cover back up your part B, part A, whatever the fuck it is. You're gonna knead these together. You see the two different colors of them. You're gonna knead it together until it's like a uniform gray. Alright, so there's your intro to sculpting. Mix your sculpt together. It's pretty much just modeling clay, but it hardens a rock. So pinch off just a little dab of it. Just enough to patch these holes. What you're going to do is you're not going to get them perfect on your first try. So you're going to have to sand some of it off, but you just want to plug that hole. Kind of squeeze it down on top of it, tap it down nice and even with the rest of it. And rub your finger over it, get it nice and smooth. And then this stuff sands pretty easy, or actually smooths off pretty easy when it's wet. So this might not be the most sanitary thing, but according to the box here, this stuff says it's non-toxic. So lick your finger and just kind of smooth it up a little bit. Just kind of slick up the area. It'll just make your sanding job a little easier. Make sure you don't sand too much of it off. So you got one hole plugged. This stuff takes, like I said, I don't know, it takes about 8 hours maybe to cure. I'm doing this late in the evening, so I'm gonna let this cure until the morning. So plug up all your holes. I'm gonna do that real quick. Remember, lick your fingers, get it nice and clean, nice and smooth, just so you don't have to sand too much when you get it done. So I'm gonna do all that. Alright, so I got my last bit of sculpt on this guy. As you can see, the spots, and I got them all the places that we dremeled under the armpits. I sculpted down the line just because there was a little bit of a line right there, but it's all the way down there on the hips. Got a little spot in his crotch right there. Got it all smoothed up. If you lick your fingers, dip your fingers in some water. That might be more sanitary for you. I don't know. I don't mind licking my fingers. I'm okay. So you get your sculpt done here. You're gonna let this dry overnight. So I got this head I'm gonna use for Crossfire. Frank Castle head. I'm gonna sand down the hair and actually sculpt a little bit over the ears just so it looks like he's got spots under his mask, under his hood, whatever, because Crossfire has like a hood over his head, kind of like Deadpool, but not over his face. So I'm going to be sculpting the details on his face too. I'm not sure if I'm going to put that in a video or not, but stay tuned for it. Subscribe. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned and watch the next couple of videos I got. Hopefully I can get Crossfire finished on camera without going insane. Normally this takes me about, I don't know, 45 minutes to do, and it's taken me at least a week to actually finish the figure. So I'm going pretty crazy, but trying to do it all on camera. If you have any questions or anything on what I'm doing, don't hesitate to message me on Facebook if you know me, YouTube, whatever you're doing, just hit me up. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.